Okay, hey guys, Anthony here with Organically Grown Muscle. I'm excited to bring you this series number 2 of our corrective exercise. So what we're going to do with this one today is work on our lower back. So last time we did shoulders, working our way down, we're going to touch on the low back a little bit. So the low back can be a tricky one because a lot of the times when people think low back, they think I must be doing something directly with my low back. Now this goes for all injuries, but especially with the low back because we have so much below and so much above us. Because believe it or not, like an ankle injury can come all the way from your shoulder and you don't even know it, right? So with the low back, it could come from below, could come from above, could just be something around the hips, right? So I'm going to show you a couple different things that you guys can do, and you can maybe kind of pinpoint it for yourself to see what might be causing that issue. Because your hip flexors can actually be so tight that they're pulling your body forward, and then butt's going out, you're putting all the pressure on the low back, and it could just be that, right? So we'll look at that a little bit today. So let's get started. We're starting with inhibit, if you remembered from the last time, and we're gonna start by inhibiting the lats. So the lat muscle is actually a really big one that can cause a lot of low back pain because they're completely separate. So you have your lat muscles, if you see the big guys with the wings on the side, that's your lat muscle. So right on the side, goes all the way up, and it actually attaches to the front of your shoulder. So speaking about that upper cross, that would be another one that would be good to inhibit for your shoulders because it's pulling you forward. Also, it constricts the back. So if I'm being pulled forward, I'm being pulled a lot on my low back, that's where we're gonna feel a lot of that tension if our lats are a bit too tight. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to foam roll those guys. So you can either use that. Again, you can use one of these little soup cans, or I have Buddhist Moon's muscle rubs, which I really love. So I'm gonna use this. She can use the foam roller because the ones that we have are really knobby and crazy. So you're gonna lay on your side. So I'm gonna help show how this one's done. All right, now for this one, it'll be a little tricky. We can also use a wall too. A lot of these we can use a wall with, but she's gonna put this right underneath the side of her body and bring the arm up. Just lie on it like you're lying in bed on your arm. Perfect. It's gonna be a little painful on this one, all right, especially with these knobby ones. So what you're gonna have to do is adjust. Maybe put a lot of pressure here so you're taking off pressure from your upper body. Now as you can see, she's feeling it.
Maybe with a soft one.
We're gonna use this one. So what we can do is either lean backwards a little bit, and you might feel it on a different part of the lat muscle, right? Shouldn't hurt this much. You can come up a little bit, or the knobby one. Stay up on your arm, that's good. Or she can rotate in a little bit, and she'll feel it almost on your serratus, inside of the muscle a little bit. Yep, and not a lot of pressure, especially if you have one of these foam rollers. So that's what you're gonna do. And again, you're gonna find that spot and just hold it. We're not trying to massage and go back and forth. That can actually make it worse, right? A spot that feels tight or an adhesion. You should feel almost like a knot. So when we're here, I'm gonna show you a little way to make it harder if it's not too much, is I like to bring my foot up here so I can actually push through my heel and lift my butt. So when I lift my butt, I'm putting more pressure right there on the lat. And right here is probably pretty good. Okay, let's start. We're gonna do a minute. We can also use these guys if you have a little ball or a soup can, because we might have a lot, people might be using those right now instead of a foam roller. This is the same idea. You're just gonna have to go a little lower onto the ground, but I like these or a lacrosse ball because they pinpoint the area more. So then I'm just hanging out here, which I really feel it. So let's get this started. So we're doing the same kind of thing. You're shooting for about a minute, and let's shoot for 2 adhesions each side. You're in. So that means she's gonna be rolling. She's gonna try to find one adhesion, one tight spot. It'll feel kind of like a knot. It's pretty much what it is. I keep saying adhesion. So adhesions are pretty much knots. The way our muscles are built, they're like fibers, right? So you have a bunch of long fibers. And when we work out a bunch, they slide, sliding filament theory, it's a theory, but they slide and contract, and sometimes they get all bunched up, and those are our knots. So we need to start breaking them up like this, inhibit, and that's why we stretch, because we're trying to lengthen them back out. Good. We're just trying to get both adhesions if we can, find a couple, and just breathe deep through them. Remember, you can even pick those hips up. You might feel it a little bit more. Deep breath. Good. And you just let that guy go. And this is a good one also for the shoulder, guys. So take this one for the shoulder. I just wanted to save it for the low back day because people would be surprised. All right, you're in on this other one. So now getting that other side, same thing. Trying to reach down, arms going up. Just lay and relax. Maybe bring your hip up. There you go. And even with this, speaking of the shoulder, even though we're on low back, you're going to be able to stretch a little bit more. So the lat muscle, like we talked about, pulls everything down. You might be able to get your arm more overhead, which when we're able to do that, makes our low back feel a little bit nicer. And you might find a spot where you really have to hold on for just a second and back off of it. Yep, well, that's a common one. So we're just sitting right now. Remember, it pulls us forward, puts a bunch of tension on that low back. Deep breath. There we go. Good job, guys. Something like this, you could also use a tennis ball. Any kind of ball that you have will also work really well. Tennis balls are a little softer. I like the lacrosse balls because they're super, super hard. Yeah, tennis ball's a little softer, might be nicer. All right, so great on the inhibit. Once you are done with that one, go through again if you feel like you need to. Otherwise, we're going on to the lengthen. So we could lengthen our lats, because that's another one that we would just keep going with, right? Lats, inhibit, lengthen. I'm gonna show you a different one instead. So we're gonna actually try to lengthen the hip flexors. Now the hip flexors are, I would say, probably one of the most common reasons why we have so much low back pain. Because all of us are sitting a lot, most of us, so we're always activating our hip flexors, which is constantly putting pressure on the low back. So what we're gonna do with this one is get into a kneeling position, 1 foot down, knee down in the back. So we're gonna try this one, and I'm actually gonna show you a way that you can do it if we can't get all the way to the ground too. Yep, that's perfect. So what we're gonna try to do is drive this knee forward. There we go, and sit into that back hip. Now, if this knee gets too far forward and she can bring it all the way past the toes, I would probably step out a little further so we can get more of the stretch on that back. Now, what this is doing is pulling on that hip flexor all the way down through the quad. So that's gonna take that pressure off the low back because we're not gonna be pulling and being in that anterior pelvic tilt position as much. And if you did that while you're standing and you just stick your butt out, tilt forward, you'll feel the pressure right away on your low back. So this is the one, take the pressure off, stretching out the hip flexor. Something you can do in the morning, at night, after you get out of the car for an hour, always a good idea. All right, good, that's perfect. Now what we can do also is, let's say we have a stool. This is my stool, all right? So let's say we have a stool or something you can bring your foot up on. If we can't go all the way to the ground, we could always grab something to step on and just kind of lean in like this. And you could even just keep that back leg straight and just lean in. You might feel some on the quads, calves, back of the leg, but you should feel it right in through here. And that would also work. So either one that works for you, but we're going on, lengthening this muscle out, take the pressure off the low back. Ready, guys? Getting about a minute on both sides. Shooting for that minute. And you're in. Now with these, a good time to think about is 30 seconds, because that's generally what it takes for the muscle to release, about 30. So that's just where it really starts. Because at first you might feel like nothing's happening, tight as a brick. Then you give it 30 seconds, it starts to let go a little bit. So that's what you're gonna wanna do. 30 seconds and try to push on past that 30. And just deep breath. You might need to back off a second, which can be beneficial. We'll talk about that. And then going back in. Good. If you feel that you're real flexible with this one might not be something that's as effective. You could reach your fingers down towards the floor. You might feel more of a stretch on that hip. You're just breathing deep. Nice work, guys. Slowly let that one go. And then we just got to do the same thing on that other side. Feel a little more stretched out over there. Switching legs going up and forward. Dropping down. There we go. We can be up tall. For some of you, my left back, you might even bring that left arm up. You might be able to feel it a little bit more right in the hip flexor because everything's attached. So higher the arm goes, pulling on the lats, pulling on the side, pulling on the hip flexors. Or you could be touching the ground.
Just use a wall so you do not have to focus on the balance.
Yep, if the balance is a problem, go right next to a wall. Especially with a lot of these, we don't really want to be focusing on balance as much. We need to. Everyone needs to focus on balance. But for the sake of the stretch, grab a wall and breathe deep. Just stay leaned in. And again, slowly letting things go. Oh, we should feel a little more stretched out now. Our way into activating some muscles. So, what muscle do you think is the most needed muscle for our low back pain to relieve it?
Glutes?
Glutes, I think. I don't really know. I think glutes. That's my guess. Or, what's another one?
Low back. It's another low back. Core.
Core. There you go. That's another good one. So, core for the low back, right? So we want to have a strong butt and we want to have a strong stomach.
The harnessing system.
Yeah. So if we have a weak stomach and we're stretched a lot, this is what happens, right? Butt goes out, arched back, stomach is being stretched, right? We're not active at the stomach.
Your weight's pulling forward that direction.
Yep.
Your low back has to bear the weight of your stomach.
Yep. So you want to start thinking like the pelvic tilts that I talk about. That's something that we're going to want to start doing. So for this activation one though, if you have a band, I want you guys to grab one. If not, that's okay too. So latex, or I like these fabric bands because for one, they don't hurt your leg hair. And for two, they stay in place. So both of those are helpful to have. So band bridges is what we're going to do. Band or no band, she's going to be on the ground. She'll show you this easier version. So feet are just down, no band for right now. And now this is an activation one. So again, we're gonna stick with isometrics because I think it's a really good way to get the muscles active without worrying about moving, right? So she's simply gonna press her hands into the ground, squeeze her butt, and lift up. We wanna make sure the knee is over the ankle and she's just gonna hold it there. And that's it. Because the focus is coming from squeezing the butt and not letting the hips dip at all. And if you just hang out there for a minute, catch yourself after 20 seconds, your hips are gonna be a little lower, right? So reset, bring those hips up. Squeeze the butt, right? And now we can make it a little harder. She can grab this band, if she wants to put this on, right above the knees. Perfect. And this can go right above, bring it up, as far as you can. There we go.
On the knee.
On the knee. There we go, and that's it. Now with this one, I don't even know the science, but 100 times more activated in your butt if you have these bands. Pardon?
It's quite a bit harder.
Yeah, it's quite a bit harder. So the activation is a lot more because we're not just getting a lift, we're getting the engagement in the side by having to press the knees out. So anytime we do a hip bridge, I highly suggest having a band on. Good? All right, so let's start with those. She's gonna do both feet. Another way to make it harder if you wanna hang out with me is we're just gonna try doing one side. So it's a little more of a progression, butt, legs up, heads down, lift, and you're just holding one side at a time. All right, ready guys? 1 minute, 1 full minute on both sides. So you're in. I'm gonna make sure we're all good over here. Again, heels pressed into the ground really hard. Toes are still down. and then the knees are just driving out. Even if we don't have a band, drive those knees out. Don't let the knees fall in, because we don't want them coming towards each other. Think about them having two different magnets. They're going away. So I'm going to try one leg, pressing up through the heel, squeezing my glute. Now when you're doing these too, try not to drive through the heel so much that you're extending the low back. You just want to drive it so you squeeze the butt. So you're probably not going to be as high as you think you would. Glute staying tight, one side at a time. Come on, everything should be getting active.
I hope you're active.
Waking it up.
I'm activated.
There we go. And good, down. That's why I'm a big believer in the isometrics, because we don't need to move a lot, but you're activating it the whole time. Time under tension, 1 full minute.
Are you making me do it again?
And again.
I have 2 legs, I guess.
Well, I get both sides, yep, you don't. Going up. Keeping those hips high, remember, not driving through the back. So I'm gonna show you what I mean by that. She's doing perfect. If she were to drive more up through her back, that's how she's feeling the back pain. Yep, keep that tuck, squeezing, that's perfect. You get my last one down here. Keep those hips up, toes are down still. Squeezing the butt. You got it, guys. This is a bit of work on these. Following up, this is good for the knees too. We'll be reaching out to those here soon. Almost there, guys. I'm thinking about it. My hips dipped a little bit. I can tell. 2, and you're dropping down. Shaking it out. Glutes should be warm. So should the quads, because we get a little bit of the quad work, a little bit of the glutes. So, nice job. So that's activating the glutes and the glute medius to take the pain off the low back, right guys? So a really good one. I would always do this exercise. I continuously do it to keep up on my rehab for my back. So, ready guys? Next one, if you remember, integrating the muscles so they're all working together how they need to. So a really good one for this one, we're actually going to be activating our low back and activating our stomach, right? So as she mentioned, we need to have a strong core as well to keep our low back in check, which, come to think of it, our low back is our core, right? So we just need to keep it in balance. Our stomach needs to be just as activated as our low back, because we do much with just picking things up where our low back has to take the brunt of that load. So we're gonna start on the stomach. We're gonna do knee tucks, contralateral raises. So what she's gonna do is be on her hands and knees. Kind of a 2-part exercise here. We're gonna do one side at a time. The reason why I like this one is because we're getting opposing sides. So we're trying to work the body left to right, right to left. So what she's gonna do is bring her left arm up, and then her right leg is gonna go back. Now this way, we're starting to integrate the low back muscles to work together with the hips and the legs, right? So now we have this one. Now that could be enough, or to make it harder, she's gonna go back up how she was, and then tuck the elbow into the knee. Now this is gonna be a little bit of the progression. I'll make sure she just does the regression, and she's just tucking in, right? Now we're getting that integration with our stomach too. So that's why I like this one so much, because we're getting stomach and then low back as she comes up, right? So either one is good, regression or progression. You can stick to those regressions, just lift and then coming back down. And then I'll do the knee tucks, all right? Ready guys, here we go. Integration, you're doing these raises, trying to get the low back, work with the stomach. And you're in. So one side at a time, guys.
I'm just holding.
And you're going down, yep, feet, knees, and then right back up. Good, because we want to be moving. Yep, no crunching. That's a little, the regressed version. Because when we progress it, we take it one step forward, bring that knee all the way to the elbow, activating the stomach, and then activating the back again. Good job, guys. Deep breath. Really squeeze at the top. Get the leg and the arm as high as you can. We want to control every movement. Almost there. Here we go, guys. Starting to feel it fire up the low back a bit. All right, there we go. One side, we shake it out. We get going on the other side. How's the low back? Good? All right, switching, ready. You might notice one side is a little more wobbly, a little more difficult than the other. Really squeeze the back at the top. Deep breath. Elbows going to the knee if possible. You might start with doing the regressed versions like Kendra, and then move your way to some progressions. Deep breath, guys. Keep pushing the ground away. Don't let the... It's good shoulder stability. And just squeezing at the top, bringing her down. Nice work. Got through it. Good job. So your low back should feel a little less tense. Feel a little more comfortable moving around now. Again, go through those again if you'd like to. That would make for a good full workout, I'd say. And then start with the regressions. So another good idea, do all these workouts, start with the regressions, and you should be finding yourself moving on to some progressions after a few weeks. So that's how I like to do it here at Organically Grown Muscle. We're always working on regressions, progressions, making sure everybody has an option for themselves, because we're all different, so we need to be able to lift, even if we've had any sort of pain, injury, anything like that. So I really appreciate it, guys, for tuning in. I'm gonna have another one of these coming, but keep working on the low back. This will really help. 2 to 3 times a week. You could even throw something like this in after, or even a short one before a workout. So go check it out, organicallygrownmuscle.com. I have those other online trainer programs as well as the Zoom workouts that we're doing right now. So see you guys soon. Organicallygrownmuscle.com.